Hello listeners, and welcome to today's episode of Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley and Corey. You're listening to us on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley. You can also listen to our podcast at drlesleyphillips.com. Well, today, listeners, we are continuing our series on meditation and the benefits of meditation. Last week, we talked about the mental health benefits of meditation, and the week before, we talked about the physical health benefits of meditation. So today, we're going to focus on the emotional benefits of meditation. Now, my definition of meditation is an act of engaging in a practice to change your mental, emotional, physical state or attain a heightened level of spiritual awareness. So there are different reasons why people meditate. Some people do it because they want to awaken spiritually, but other people do it because they have problems in the physical, mental, or emotional realm. And of course, the World Health Organization recognizes that health is not just a state of physical well-being, but it includes mental and social well-being, that it's not simply the absence of disease or infirmity. So today, let's review how meditation can help you on an emotional level. And once again, like we've done in the other episodes in this series, we've taken a look at the scientific research that's out there, because there's an enormous body of work now to support how meditation can help you. There's thousands and thousands of research studies, and there continues to be new research studies. So this is a growing field for the scientists. So we've taken a look at the meta-analyses that are out there that compare the general body of work about meditation with respect to emotions. And one of the things that the scientists have found is that people who meditate are not as emotionally reactive. So meditation decreases emotional reactivity. So scientists have actually found that the practice of meditation helps people disengage from emotionally upsetting situations. I think there was a study where they showed them emotionally upsetting pictures or photographs, and the people who meditated could cope better with what they were looking at than the people who didn't. They've also shown that people who meditate have better relationships. There are several studies that show that people who are able to be mindful and who meditate do not suffer in terms of having as much stress in their relationships. They are able to communicate their emotions much better to their partner. And so the scientists have said that meditation protects against the emotionally stressful effects of relationships, that it is associated with the ability to express oneself clearly in social situations, and it is a predictor of relationship satisfaction. Now, of course, we've already done a show on the mental benefits of meditation, but I would say that there is a really close relationship between your thoughts and your emotions. So if you have negative thoughts that are spiraling out of control, then that is going to create an emotional reaction and an emotional field around you. So I will just recap on a few of the things that to do with thoughts, because if you've got positive thoughts, then you're more likely to have positive emotions. So they've shown that meditation reduces rumination, meaning, you're focusing on the same thing over and over again, and you're going in round and round and round, or in a downward spiral of negative thoughts. Meditation prevents you from doing that. It reduces stress, anxiety and fear, which anxiety and fear are emotions, aren't they? And it boosts your memory and your ability to focus with your mind. And so if you're better at performing mental tasks, and you have a job that involves performing mental tasks, you're going to be less stressed, you're going to be less afraid that your boss is going to fire you. So there is an interconnectedness between the thoughts and the emotions. I've also said it helps you be more flexible in your way of processing information and perceiving situations. And so you're less likely to go into judgment of other people and situations as a consequence of that. So they've also done a whole bunch of studies on therapists and trainees and how that affects them when they meditate. And they have found that it helps them be more empathic, more compassionate, and be better counsellors. So there are several studies that suggest that mindfulness promotes empathy. And there was a study that looked at medical students who took an 8-week mindfulness training, and they had more empathy than the ones who hadn't had a meditation training. So that would be wonderful, wouldn't it, for our doctors to have more empathy. And I think there's another study where they found with therapists that they had more empathy to their clients, and that they scored higher on measures of self-reported empathy than therapists who didn't meditate. And I would think that's a big part of a therapist's job, is to be able to empathize with the person that you are working with. They've also shown that it helps compassion amongst healthcare professionals and therapist trainees. Helps people be compassionate towards themselves and towards other people. Because meditation and mindfulness have techniques that teach you how to not be in judgment and be non-reactive. And so there was a strong correlation with self-compassion and empathy, and the ability to take on other people's perspectives and see it not just from your own narrow perspective, but from a wider perspective, with those who meditate regularly. They've also looked at counselling skills of people who meditate, and they are more effective counsellors. So they took some counselling students and gave them a 15-week course. And they were more attentive to the therapy process, more comfortable with silence, more attuned to themselves and their clients. And the other counsellors in other studies have shown increases in self-awareness about their professional identity and overall wellness. Like we've said before, meditation decreases stress and anxiety. It helps you be more present. It helps you own the space around you. It helps you know yourself. And then another, what we might call an emotional benefit, is that people who meditate report that they have a better quality of life. So they've looked at nursing students who meditate. They have a better quality of life, significantly less negative psychological symptoms when they meditate. And so they're suggesting that meditation will increase emotional intelligence. And these studies are around the world. So there's a study of Chinese college students who were randomly assigned to meditate, to learn how to meditate, and they had less depression and anxiety, less fatigue, less stress-related symptoms. They were more attentive and better able to control their emotional reactions. And they also have a study with victims of Hurricane Katrina, and they taught them to meditate, and the ones who learned to meditate were less depressed, and they had much less PTSD and anxiety than those who weren't taught meditation. So I hope that you're seeing, listeners, or hearing, listeners, that there's just a huge list of reasons why meditation supports a healthy emotional life and a healthy, rounded persona. Now, we've looked at sort of studies of people in general, and we've looked at studies that they've done on health professionals. But what about the outcomes that you see in the clients of therapists who meditate? Do they translate? And so far the studies suggest that it does. So there's a German study where counselors who practice Zen meditation for 9 weeks, they reported a ton of benefits, but more importantly, their clients displayed reductions in their symptoms, faster rates of change, scored higher on measures of well-being perceived after their treatment. And that's not the only study like that. There are other studies that have shown similar outcomes. And I know that they've done studies like this in schools in terms of how well trained the meditation teacher is, because there's a vast difference between somebody who has been on a weekend course to learn how to teach mindfulness than somebody who has studied meditation and practiced meditation themselves for many years and taken 2 or 3 or 4 years worth of training as a meditation teacher. So, for example, I studied for many years, over 4 years before I qualified as a meditation teacher, and I've been practicing it for 20 years. But as meditation becomes more popular, there are... it's funny, like if you do a Google search, what's a really great idea for a business in 2018, meditation teacher is on the list. And so there are now people who are training teachers in a weekend course. And I would just, if there's anybody listening who is a leader of a corporation and you're considering hiring a meditation teacher to help your employees, not all meditation teachers are equal, and not all forms of meditation are equal either. And so it really does pay off to do a little bit of research and find out what level of experience the people that you are considering have, because it really does affect the outcome. Because you can imagine if you've got somebody who's just reeling off a few ideas and they've learned them intellectually, it's very, very and they don't really have a really strong meditation practice themselves. They won't be able to answer questions based on experience, and it's going to come across to the class that this person doesn't have a depth of experience and passion, and it's been scientifically proven that it does make a difference. So, listeners, People who meditate, in summary, are happier. They are not as stressed. They have better boundaries in their relationships, less fear, less anxiety. They're more resilient to change. They can regulate their emotions. So therefore, their relationships are much improved. They have more compassion and empathy, and they have a reduced cortisol response. They have more self-awareness, and meditation has an impact on the emotional centers of the brain, I think we discussed that in the first week of this series, that there are changes in the brain, and that includes that the emotional centers of the brain have been shown to be more active and to increase in size as a result of somebody meditating. People who receive mindfulness or meditation training have a better ability to pay attention, reduced reports of negative emotion, increased reports of all kinds of positive effects, as we've discussed so far on the show. And all in all, there's a ton of evidence that meditation positively affects the emotions. And they've measured it. They've measured the effect sizes on things like anxiety and depression and stress and distress, and they've shown significant changes in positive mood. And also that, some people are emotional eaters, aren't they? And some people take drugs or alcohol because they are feeling emotional. They've actually shown a correlation that people who meditate are less likely to get caught up in those things. So, listeners, do you meditate? And if not, why? Have I persuaded you that it might be a good idea to meditate? And if yes, and if you'd like to learn to meditate, then look for a really good meditation teacher, somebody who really, really knows what they're doing. And of course, I teach meditation, and you can go to drlesleyphillips.com, and there is a page on meditation under courses, and you can even watch a couple of examples of me teaching meditation in the workplace.
You can also find the questions that were asked during this show at the website on our free card reading podcast page, where you'll find a full list of them.